Today I'm going to show you how I use this circle grid to make my sketches. This circle grid is available to you for free to download, so just be sure that you check in the description. And I'll also have some links to how you actually download it and get it into Procreate. So I have some videos for that as well that I'll be sharing. But when you get the circle grid in, and get it into your gallery. Oops, let me go back to the gallery. You might want to save just the initial copy of it so that you can use it again. So to make another copy, I'm going to choose Select, choose the circle drawing grid, and then just click Duplicate. So now I have one that I can work on this new sketch with, and I also have one for safekeeping for other sketches that I might want to do. So let's go ahead and go into one of them. And by the way, at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how you can put this circle grid on a different size canvas. So make sure you stay tuned for that at the end. Also, small disclaimer, not coming to you from the studio. Holly, our big Bernedoodle, had her space surgery just a couple of days ago. So we're trying not to go up and down the stairs, and so we're in the kitchen, which is a little bit harder for setup. So once you get your circle grid downloaded and into your Procreate app, the next thing that you'll want to do is add your reference photo. For me, I have this really pretty cardinal. So I've added it to my canvas. Now I have my grid and I have my reference photo. The next thing that I want to do is save this to my camera roll. And what that is going to allow me to do is to bring it in as a reference. Again, if you need a real step-by-step on using a reference window in Procreate, I'll link that video here too. So what I want to do to save this to my camera roll is click this wrench and then click Share and then JPEG. A window comes up. I just want to save the image. That sends it to my camera roll. So now, still in the wrench, I can go to Canvas and turn on this reference toggle. When you turn yours on the very first time, it will probably come up showing Canvas. We want to show an image. Then we'll click to import the image. We'll go to our camera roll and we'll choose that image that we just saved. So now we have our reference window and our canvas. I'm going to click the layers, these boxes at the top, and just turn off the reference image there. In our reference window, remember this works exactly like your canvas. So we can move the reference window around. We can make the reference window as big as the program lets us. I wish it would let us make it a little bit bigger, but we can pinch in and pinch out to zoom in and out and move our reference around however we like. Now we have our perfect grid. It's the same size as our reference photo, and we're ready to get sketching. Whether you are just practicing sketching or you're actually working on a piece that you're going to paint, Procreate is an amazing tool. Often, I try to do something with my art every day, and Procreate just allows me to, I can take a reference photo just out on the deck with my husband and just practice and play. And I hope that you'll do that. Even if it's not necessarily something that you ever plan on painting, just sitting down to practice and really practicing seeing shapes is so valuable, not just for practicing drawing, but also it will help you as you take the piece to your easel to paint, if that's what you plan to do. So I'm going to come to the layers and I'm going to add a layer. Just click the plus And this is the layer that I'm actually going to do my sketch on. So if I want to rename it, it's already selected. I can just tap it again, tap rename, and I'll call it sketch. Getting into the practice of naming your layers will just help you. On this particular sketch, we're not going to have a lot of layers, but on some projects, you might build up lots of layers. So having them organized is nice. So I'm on the sketch layer. I have the grid turned on. Just a small note about the grid here. If it's bothering you and you want to change the opacity, you just click this N and use this slider to change the opacity. For us here today, I'm going to leave it on 100%. Make sure that I'm on the sketch layer, and then we're ready to get started. I think for me, I'm going to click the brush tool and just show you that I'm in the drawing brushes and the gloaming brush. That's the pencil brush that I'm going to use today. And it is a free brush that comes with Procreate. What else? I think that's it. I think we're ready to get started. As you start, pick places that appeal to you right away. And I hope that makes sense. There's no right or wrong place to start. I think for my drawing, I'll probably start here at her crest. And often what I'm doing, let me zoom in all the way, just to show you, when I'm talking about negative spaces, I'm looking at this triangle that's left in that space. So the one thing that I really want to be careful of, and it's real easy to get off on the wrong part of the grid, just really make sure that you orient yourself within the grid to make sure you're in the right spot. So when I've made my circle grid here that you can download, I have some of the grids darker and in a kind of a navy blue color, and other parts are gray, just again to help me orient myself. So let's go ahead and sketch a little bit just to show you kind of how this works and to let you know sort of what I'm looking at here. Again, I'm thinking about that shape, that triangle that we talked about. And I'm going to be pretty loose, just really sketchy. A lot of times when I make my first sketches, they're a little bit rougher. And then once I'm sure that I have everything down, I'll come back in, make another layer, and refine the sketch a little bit. So I can see that her crest comes up not quite halfway into this part of our grid. And then she has another little tuft that kind of comes this way. Her head starts sort of to the bottom of this square that we initially started in, and then comes just across the corner of this next space. So let's just continue to go down. Again, I'm doing this pretty quickly just to show you a little bit of what I'm looking at. When you do yours as you practice, take your time, study the spaces. So we're in this space now. So I can see that it doesn't exactly follow the curve of this line. It kind of dips down a little bit. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Coming around, the branch blocks a little bit of our view, and then she kind of puffs out toward the edge of this circle or this arch that's made. Coming down, this part of her chest here almost exactly follows the curve of the grid line that's there. And now we're on this space. So again, it starts out here and sort of sweeps in, gets closer to this gray line. So what I can do is I can actually make a little mark and then connect those two. And she's real fluffy out here, so just be sketchy. It crosses just over the corner of this part of the grid and comes right to that point. So right to this point, again, I'll just connect those. These next two spaces, her little belly kind of follows right along, almost exactly along that line. And it's kind of funny when you're using the grid how often that happens. So it comes just in for this little part of her body here. I'm going to find this spot and again just sort of connect those two. This little fluff down here about halfway. And now from here, I might go ahead and just come up, and again, this is what I was talking about before. Just draw the areas that you see, the areas that make sense. Don't feel like you have to keep going down here. If it gets a little too hard to see where we're going down here, pick a different area. So I think I'm going to come up and finish this side of her face. And then her wing starts about here. Looking at the negative space that's left over. Coming down to our main darker blue line here. And then here's a little triangle that's left. It kind of comes down and connects right with this corner. So her wingtips sort of come out here and then cross over this blue line. So let's go ahead and do just the inner part of her body as it, again, I'm going to go really fast here because I think that you're kind of getting the idea of how this works. But basically her body shape just follows along there. Let's go ahead and get her tail. I'm not going to do the branches with this demonstration, but we'll get her tail in. Her tail is just above this gray line. So just here. And then it angles right along this line and almost down to this finer blue line down here. And again, we can't see the rest of her tail because of the branch, which if I was finishing this, I would use the same technique to go in and find those branches. The nice thing about a branch is, you know, it doesn't have to, all branches aren't the same. It can be whatever you want. So you can be a little bit looser with things like branches. All right, let's go ahead and get her face in. Her face is a little bit difficult. Her beak is a little bit foreshortened, so she's turned a little bit toward us. It makes it a little difficult to see. But again, this is just really great practice. I'm going to start with her eye, and I'll go ahead and blow up her face just a little bit so we can, if you can have your reference picture be almost the same size as your sketch, then it just becomes easier for you to see it. And remember, we can move this reference box down so it's a little bit more, you know, in line across. So we can see that her eye doesn't come all the way down to this gray line here, but it does cross over the blue just a little bit and then comes out. And again, just be sketchy. If it helps you to see it, to darken that in so you can see the full, you know, the darker eye, go ahead and do that. Just have fun with this. It's just practice. The beak for her is honestly the is the hardest part, like I mentioned, just because of that foreshortening. So I'm going to look at how her beak crosses this corner, and that's this corner here. And then how it comes down into this shape. So her beak is just a little bit past the center of this pie shape. And I don't know, maybe a fifth of the way. You know, you can measure like that too. So 1, 2, 3, 4, a fourth of the way or a fifth of the way down. And also remember to use your other helps as we're sketching. So we can look across to see, does it kind of follow that curve right to the eye? I've been fighting a cold. We've just had just the roughest spring here between Holly's poor surgery and trying to get over a cold. So her beak is going to come down right around there and come up. This is the center line of the top of her beak. Sorry, I think Lucy just bumped the camera. And then this bottom shape again it's just kind of hard. So I'm just going to be really loose and kind of sketch. I can see that it doesn't come all the way over to this blue line of the grid, but very close. And then does this cute little swoop there before it meets back up. So let's just check our shapes a little bit. This shape, the bottom of her beak here, is again probably about a third of the way underneath of this line. So 1, 2, 3. So I can come back over here. 1, 2. Yeah, it's close. It's close. We'll see how close it is in a moment when we do our check here. And I can go ahead and add some of the details too. So start to hint at where her mask is. Again, just be very loose. At this stage, we're just getting the idea of things in, and then we can refine this as we go on to the next steps. But this is just really good practice. I'm kind of looking at this little shape of her body. This would be something, if I was making a tracer, I would I'd want to capture that shape. It really helps to build her shape. So let's see how we did. We can go ahead and catch the corner. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult on this reference window. So we can go ahead and push that to the side. And then let's go ahead and turn off our grid so we can see our sketch. And then just to help you guys see it a little bit better, I'm going to duplicate the sketch just to darken the lines a little bit. So to duplicate, I have the sketch chosen. I'm going to slide to the left and click duplicate. Let's do it again. Slide to the left and click duplicate. That just darkens it so you can see it. And then I can merge all of those together just so if I need to make any changes or edits, I can erase and edit everything. So to merge them together, I'm just going to put my finger on the top layer, thumb on the bottom layer, and pinch. You can see that they're all together. So let's turn on our reference picture again and see how close we came. I'll zoom in a little bit. You can see that the tail is very, very close, exactly where I would want it to be. Beak is very good. So I hope that really shows you. I was trying to see, maybe I'll turn down the opacity of the photo just so that you can see a little bit better. that very quickly we can get a very accurate sketch using this grid. If you have any place that you feel is off too much that you want to edit again, you can sure do that. But all of this practice is really, really so helpful. And Procreate makes it just easy to take anywhere with you. So you can always just spend a few minutes and practice sketching, and your art will just get better and better for it. So I did say I was going to show you how you could place this grid on a different size canvas. If you're working on a size that's different than the grid that I'm offering you, just go out to the gallery and make your new canvas at whatever size that you want. So to make a new canvas in your gallery, we're just going to click the plus and then this little plus at the top. And now I'm going to make sure that I've chosen inches. And let's say I wanted to do a 5-inch. I'll type 5 in the width, tap down into the height. Let's say I wanted it to be a 5 by 7. So 5 inches wide, 7 inches tall. Click check mark. Now I'm in a new 5 by 7 canvas in Procreate. I'm going to go back to the gallery and go back into, I have a couple of them open, back into this sketch that we were working on before. I'm going to pick the layers and then pick the layer that has the grid on it. So if I tap it to select it, now I'm going to hold and drag it. So push my finger down on and bring it out. You can see, I hope, under my finger that I have that circle grid. Now I'm going to use my other hand to tap gallery. I'm going to go into the 5 by 7 that we just made and drop it in here. Now if we go to our layers, the 2 squares, we can see that our grid is in this new 5 by 7. If I wanted to change the size of it at all, I would just pick our little arrow, and now I've got the control handles so I can drag it bigger or smaller. So I hope that this really helped. I hope that you'll subscribe to the channel if you found this helpful. Of course, leave me a comment. That helps my channel so much. And if you would like to know exactly how to draw your own grid, leave me a comment. I'd be happy to come back and do a video just to show exactly how I made this grid. So have fun practicing. This is a really good exercise that will really help your art.